Hello, I'm Jane Applegate, financial journalist and author. I'm here with Bailey Dickson. She's the founding principal of Bailey Edward Design. It's a Chicago architectural firm that specializes in institutional design. So Ellen, what inspired you to become an architect? Did you have a mentor?
You know, architecture, you don't find a lot of mentors, and not even in high school especially. What I really loved was art, drawing, being creative. But I didn't want to do something that was isolated. I wanted to be around the community, and I wanted to be working with people. So I went in and talked to my counselor, and I scored off the charts in the aptitude for 3D visualization, which was kind of unheard of at the time, and thought, hey, this is a great profession. And then I realized that as we went to many trips out west, that some of the buildings I loved the best were by Mary Coulter, a female architect, and Julia Morgan in San Francisco. And I thought, well, you know, these are good examples, but not necessarily mentors, because obviously they were dead before I could come around. So that was really the inspiration, was wanting to do something that had a social good with my art.
And although you've mentioned these famous women architects, it's traditionally a male-dominated field.
Correct.
How has that affected your career?
I think that there are instances where it's really been almost a social challenge, where people are thinking that it's got to be Frank Lloyd Wright, you know, that you have to wear the cape and beret, and of course a pair of pants. But what we really have to work with is having the power, the command and presence out on the construction site. So that's really where I think the difference is essential, that a woman has to, actually we can kind of talk people into a little bit more out on the construction site and help things become a better finished product. But they're a little wary of us at first. So that's been the hard thing, is people want to keep us in the office and not out on the construction site. But I say that we're better.
Better on site.
Better on site, right. Yes.
And apart from that, what would you say is your biggest business challenge right now, and how are you dealing with it?
Currently, our firm is caught in the 40-person size. And typically there is a difference between 20 to 50. And so trying to manage how you have systems in place, what your staff looks like, and the fact that I have to do more management than ever, as opposed to being out into the projects. So right now, it's very special projects that have a lot of demand for programming and creativity and concept. What can we make out of this building or this project? That's what gets my attention most often. So trying to get ourselves up into that higher level. At 40 people, we're actually larger than 80% of all architecture firms in the country. So we really have accomplished a lot, but we need to move up that other rank.
Your firm's success depends on having a really talented team. How do you recruit great people to work with you?
We actually let people have a life outside of work. And so the work-life balance that we project and encourage for people, I think helps us to bring in those better, more talented people.
So would you say that women still have challenges entering the architectural profession?
Unfortunately, there still are. I mean, I think we're very well respected, but one of the statistics that really interests me is the fact that in architecture school, there really is some gender parity, where there are 50% men and 50% women. But the troubling statistic is that when we look at who is out working in the field, leading in the field, there's a missing 32%. So in other words, there are only 18% that are still active. So it's very important, I think, for those of us who have a strong foothold in the career and in the profession to be nurturing and making sure and finding that missing 32% and bring them into the profession. So grab them when they're at the college age and work with mentoring them then to help them realize that they can be an architect, can have a family, can have sane working hours, and that it's not going to be something that they have to choose between one or the other. So that's really, I think, the current challenge, and it's one that we have to take on, the women architects of today.
And finally, speaking of balance, how do you balance working on specific projects with actually managing your firm?
You know, that is a challenge, as you say. As I mentioned, you know, we have to be selective with what I work on. What we're really doing is strategically, we're going from, first I was a doer, and then a manager, and now we're working to going back to me being a doer, and the doer being the designer, with most of my time being in design. But the biggest thing is you have to let other people shine. And you have to bring people along who can take care of you, so that you can have that balance and get back to the things that you really enjoy and that I'm good at.
Terrific. Thanks so much for sharing your story.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.